Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 5 of Tamia's Tiger 1 late version, scale 1 to 35. So in this part I'm going to be concentrating on the turret and getting that built up. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So to start off with, I'm making up the gun mount. Only put the cement on the, if you are going to put cement on the inside part of this. This has got to move freely. And I would recommend that you don't have it in a set position. It's just better when you display it if the gun can move up and down. The back piece of the gun, or the counterweight part, just two halves made up initially. There is other little bits and pieces to go on. It's not nearly really necessary to put these on unless you're having the turret open and you'll be able to see this part. But as a rule, you don't really need to build these up if you don't want to, because you will not see it. While it's drying, I'm moving on to the actual turret, and there's a little hatch that goes on. That just goes on the outside. There is a little location point above it for the hinge just to fit into. There's two seats that you can place in at the bottom of the turret. Again, if you're having the turret closed, there's not really any need to place these in. But if you're putting the figures in, and I'm putting one figure in, then it's necessary to put these in. They have their own little location point right on the rim. Make sure when you put them on that it doesn't stick out onto the bottom, or you'll find that you won't be able to move the turret. When adding on your cement, make sure that you're not placing it into the location areas where the gun sits, because again, you want the gun to move up and down. So ideally, you don't want any cement in this part. And to fit it, it just simply pushes in. It is going to be a tight fit because no cement is required, but it's got to be a nice tight fit. Push these two parts in before trying to line up the actual back plate of the turret. Now, if the back part of the turret doesn't line up 100%, just persevere with it until you get as close as you can. Don't worry if there is a little crack or gap there. That's going to be covered up with the boxes at the back of it anyway, so you're not going to see it. I filled mine in just as a matter of practice, but you don't really need to do it. There's a couple of hatches to be dealt with. There's a lot of handles that you place on, just see one of them there. Depending whether you have them open or not, whether you'll give more detail on the underside. I'm having one closed, so it's just the outside I'm worried about. The gun itself makes up quite nicely as well. You will need a couple of clamps so just to hold it together. Mine was slightly warped, so the clamps were essential just to hold it all straight. And while it's drying, I'm just adding on the covers for the sights first of all, and then the secondary hatch is going on. That just fits inside the bracket without any issue. As I said, it would be pointing up if you're having it opened. Next is another cover here that I'm having closed, so that just pops in. It can be a little bit tricky to get in. Mine didn't go straight in. First of all, I had to sort of manoeuvre it around a little bit just to get it in. Next, there's a little clet that goes on top, which finishes off the main turret. Now, this is just the housing where the sights are. The sights are pre-molded into it, so you don't have to worry about placing these in. The compartment boxes at the back is a fairly simple assembly. You're just placing on the top cover, like so. It just fits in directly. There's nothing else that needs done with it. That then gets placed onto the back where the bracket's shown. Now this is quite tight, so you probably want to dry fit it a couple of times until you're 100% sure how it's going to go. You may need to file it down as well. I didn't, but I did think about it. It is quite a tight fit. I'm placing on little brackets to hold the extra track lines. Now I'm actually placing these in the wrong way, in the wrong position. They should be on top of the turret. I'm actually placing them in the location points where the track lines go. But that's it. Well, I was easily sorted. Once I realised I had taken them, I took them up. I'd done that off camera. Next I'm adding the gun, and that just gets pushed into the mount. Just a tiny amount of cement is all that's needed to hold it. And then I'm just placing in a couple of end caps where the connection is for the gun. They're just little knobs of plastic that go in the hole. I can then paint in the camouflage, so it's XF64 Red Brown by Tamia, and then XF61 Dark Green. And I'm painting it the same way I did the hull, no specific set pattern, just making the camouflage flow as much as I can until it feels right. I really don't know if these things did have a set pattern or not, but I prefer it to do it this way anyway, if I'm being honest. I'm now placing on the spare links, and this is where I discovered I put the links, the brackets for the links, in the wrong place. I test fitted the turret, and the turret just wouldn't go on because the bottom part of the link is actually sticking out underneath the ridge where it would connect with the hull. So as I said, it was easy enough to remove. These weren't quite set yet, so it wasn't a drama in the end. So it's back to the hull, and I'm just placing on the skirts now. Each one has 3 location points along the hull. They just get put on. Now it's a little bit more difficult to place these on because of the ridge detail of the tank that I put on at the beginning of the build. But this was the only way to do it because these skirts are flat. They haven't got the extra armour markings on them. And the next to go on are the mud guards. There's 2 at the back. They just there's a little location slot for them just to press on into. It's onto the figure now. I'll just run through the colours. The flesh is XF15 flat flesh. Obviously that's for the face and hands. Then I'm using Tamiya's XF1 flat black. That is for the hat and boot. And then it's XF53 natural grey for the shirt. Tamiya's XF69 NATO black for the uniform. X9 for the belt and leather work. X11 chrome silver for the insignias. And then X24 clear yellow for the hair. And for the eyes it's X2 white, and the pupils is X14 sky blue. So that's all the colours for the figure. Now it depends how good you are at painting, how much detail you want to go into these. I'm not very good at painting figures, so I just done a basic colour set here. The assembly of the figure was very easy. The only thing you have to look out for is position of the arms. Think of how it's going to be placed inside the turret to make sure you got the positions correct. So it's back to the hull, and I'm painting in the camo from on the armour skirt here. So it's basically the same as I've done throughout the tank. I'm just following the pattern lines that are running off the tank, so carrying it on through. I'm trying to keep the paintwork as light as possible, so very thin layers. I have noticed once the paint was dry, some parts are a little bit patchy. I thought about putting another layer on to rectify that, but then I thought, well, actually, I'm going to leave it the way it is because when I weather it, it'll just mean there's less weathering to do. So that's something to consider while building. How your paintwork's going to look. Do you want it patchy? Do you want it pristine? I mean, I never go for the pristine look anyway, but I don't generally go patchy either, but in this case I'm going to leave it like that. I kind of like the look. And this is Barrel End Part 5. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Hit that notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build, but all my other builds as well, of course. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.